All right, welcome to the show, everyone. This is the SmashPod brought to you by Smash Up Fantasy Sports, the only next-gen fantasy game where you can choose your players, choose Smash cards, and you can dominate your opponents. We're here to talk about some sports, fantasy sports, some random stuff that's going on. Got my boy Chris, as always. What's up, Chris? What's going on?
Just binge watching the Olympics, like I think half of America.
I saw it's like a huge amount of productivity loss right now because a lot of people are watching the Olympics and just like not working. So you're one of them, sounds like.
No. Whoa. Ming, give me some credit. I don't work in the first place. So zero productivity loss. It's been
Yeah. So that's we're holding a baseline, it sounds like. You're actually working right now. Also joined by another guest. It's always great to have someone else. So you don't always have to hear my voice, and we definitely don't always have to hear Chris's voice, but we're here with Max from the Smash Up team. What's up, man? So your nickname here is Frangers. Do you have a quick little story on that?
Frangers, yep, it stems from coming from New York City. I've always been a huge New York Ranger fan. My last name's Feingold, so took the F, slapped it next to Rangers, got Frangers, and it's always caught on with everybody I meet. So we're going to run with that, see how it goes. I'm excited to help out, talk fantasy, make sure the viewers don't hear as much of Chris, I guess, and
hey. I like Frangers already, but when you were going to that story, I thought there was going to be some F the Rangers into that, but it sounds like it went in a different direction.
A lot of people make that mistake. I got to make sure that we're staying strong.
And do your friends ever call you like Walker, Texas Frangers, or is that just an old person thing?
It's better.
It's good. Luckily, nobody calls me Texas Frangers. If it ever catches on, I'll let you know. But
you can give Chris the credit. Yeah. Well, we're excited to have you here, man. Excited to talk about sports topics. We have some good ones today. So our fantasy segment, we're going to talk about the next best thing in drafts when you miss out on some of those elite options. So really interested in hearing about Frangers thinks about you across different positions, especially in those mid to late rounds. Hawk probably has some good takes and maybe some bad ones too. So we'll see if we want to listen to him at all. We're going to talk a little Smash Up, of course. Smash Up is right around the corner. Obviously, games will be beginning in preseason, and preseason just kicked off. It was the Hall of Fame game yesterday. I heard it was cut off was it halftime due to weather or something like that? We couldn't even get a full preseason game.
I don't think anyone's watched more than one half of the Bears play for the last decade, so most fans don't know. They wouldn't notice.
Caleb Williams is already not playing. So yeah, excited that preseason started because basically the season is underway for us all. So there's Smash Up. We have our favorite segment, role players. If anyone's caught Netflix's Wide Receiver, we have some uncut material that, we're always able to get some secret interviews and into the conversations that, don't make it out publicly. So we have some good material there. So very interested to see how that plays out. And then of course, have some unsportsmanlike conduct. We'll talk about some things outside the lines a bit. And then we'll wrap things up with Chef's Table. So you guys ready to go?
Let's do it.
Chef.
Kick things off with a little bit of a news lead. Looks like Olympic swimmer Katie Ledecky recently was adamant that she had never really peed in the Olympic pool, but couldn't speak for other swimmers. I don't know, Hawk, what's your take on that?
I mean, it sounds like a great excuse for like a positive steroids test. Like, Your Honor, I swear I don't do steroids. I just drank some pool urine, and now that's where the positive test came from.
And I love how she had to really specify, I didn't pee in the Olympic pool, but if she's swimming with her nieces and nephews and at the city pool, she's just leaving streams of urine behind her. So I don't know. Anyway, less things about urination, but let's talk fantasy.
I know, Max, you have anything to say about urination?
Any urination comments?
That transition was flawless. I want to get it.
I've been working on it. Yeah, I was working on it. So let's talk fantasy. This is why we're here, right? So mid to late round targets. I think this is where some fantasy drafts are really won, right? Everyone can draft a first rounder, a second rounder, but when you miss out on that elite talent, the QB ones, wide receiver ones, running back ones, where do you get that real upside where maybe you're getting them in 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th rounds, but they have the potential to really bust out. So curious is to see where some of these home run swings are for you guys, or where you guys see that upside in value. We'll kind of go through each of the positions. Love one or two options from, I guess we'll just go around the horn and see what our thoughts are. But why don't we start with quarterback? Obviously, we don't want to go sleepers, nothing like late round. If we really want to, we can. But where are we seeing that mid round value at quarterback? And let's start with you, Chris, because I want to hear what you have to say. And obviously, like Frangers, if you disagree, like jump in, right? We want to hear opposing opinions. Let's start with Chris, and then we'll go to Frangers after that.
Yeah, so one for me is Dak Prescott, right? Here's a guy who finished quarterback 3
I love
last
Dak
year in
this year.
fantasy. Same offense, same skill players. He's really, look, he sucks in the playoffs, but the NFL playoffs don't matter for your fantasy team, right? So I think this is a guy who's extremely underrated. And as other guys like Kyler and Jaden Daniels start to creep up boards, Dak is a guy you can get in the 7th, 8th, 9th round and could finish as a top 5 fantasy quarterback.
Well, I think it's funny because you bring up his playoff performance. I think his lack of playoff performance actually helps drafters, right? Like that's the sour taste it leaves in people's mouths. But this dude's like a fantasy stud, right? So like year after year, like he's always performing well. I don't know, Frangers, what do you think about the Dak call?
Yeah, I mean, I love Dak. I picked up Dak last year and was lucky enough to start him towards the end of the second half of the season when him and CD were just clicking. It was like nonstop 25 plus weeks from each of them. They were just working. I expect it to continue going into this season. And yeah, I think Dak is a great second option. You'll definitely find him later in the draft, so you don't have to waste an early pick. You could grab another guy, a guy there, and yeah, Dak seems to be a safe bet. I think he's a good guy to get.
Yeah, he definitely has that big Dak energy. So I think that's,
he's got big Dak energy. That was one of my team names from last year. That Dak. He's going after CJ Stroud. Would you guys take Stroud or Dak if you're on the board? You need a QB. You see both of them there. There's a little bit of a QB run. Who would you take, Stroud or Dak?
I think it's a coin flip if they're together. I mean, I actually kind of like Dak. Maybe I like to see the case for Stroud. The thing is, though, they're not going at the same time, right? To get Stroud, you've got to take him 4 rounds earlier. I think that's the big thing for me. I like CJ, but if I have to take CJ in the 5th versus the skill player, or get Dak in the 8th, 9th round, it's not even a question. I'm going to go Dak every single time.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with Chris there. I think if you're reaching for quarterbacks that early, you're looking at guys like Lamar, Mahomes, Allen, and then you have Stroud in the 5th round. It seems like you might be better off getting Dak later. You wait 4 more rounds. You still have strong quarterbacks who can still win you weeks, and Dak is consistent enough to get you to a playoff. So I like it. Yeah, I think it's a good.
Yeah. Especially if you're taking that tier approach, you can wait, right? Load up on some more skill players, and then maybe still grab him a little bit later. So love that. Okay. Awesome. Well, I think we're all aligned on the Dak pick. There's a lot of value there, which is basically going to push him up the board when people start seeing all that value as we go deeper into drafts. All right. So, Frangers, you have an interesting one. I know you have an interesting take here, and I think it'd be helpful if you provide some context on like how you might look at this one.
Sure. Yeah. I think a take not many people expect, but Will Levis, quarterback for the Titans.
Spicy.
Popular.
So
Not
you're one of the 3 people drafting him. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm happy to grab Will Levis this year. He's about as low value as you can get in terms of quarterback.
Ringing endorsement there.
but I'm excited to see what he's got. This is the first time that Will Levis really has a chance to run an offense. Derrick Henry isn't snatching snaps on 1st, 2nd, and 3rd down anymore. So I like it, and the offense is new. We have a new OC, and so I expect him to be throwing the ball more. And on top of that, the Titans just went out and got Calvin Ridley, who sure had his disappointments in Jacksonville, but he's still a great receiver to have. Hopkins did just get hurt, but he'll be back eventually. Yeah. There's some pressure on that offense. Levis likes to throw deep, and Ridley and Hopkins are both deep receivers. I could see good things happening. There's a lot of boom potential there, and it's not too big of a risk to grab him. His ADP is low, 158. So there's something there. I don't know. What do you guys think?
The logic is solid, but I will say if you have to describe a quarterback the way that Micah describes me, like low value, that's sometimes maybe a little bit of a red flag.
So I think it's actually a very, very underrated pick, and I actually like him in best ball, 2 quarterback leagues for flex. I think you hit upon a couple of good notes. They also brought in Tyler Boyd to run out of the slot, and both of the backs they have. So good call. Derrick Henry's gone, but Pollard and Tajay Spears could both catch the ball out of the backfield. There's going to be a lot of passing that's going on, right? So I think that's a good call. The offense is definitely going to shift, and you might get some spike weeks out of Levis for sure. So I think that's a sneaky pick there. I want to move on to the next positions. I'll call out Jordan Love really quick, though. I think he has some value. I think he was pretty dominant the last half of last year. I think everyone saw that into the playoffs until he played against the Niners, obviously. but there's going to only like wheels up for that offense. It's an ascending offense, a lot of young talent on the receiver end of things. And then obviously, everyone expects Jordan Love to take that next step, especially after that huge contract he just got. So he has the keys. So looking at big things there for Jordan Love. Okay, let's talk about running back. Where do we see some great upside and value in the middle to late rounds? Why don't we start with you?
So for me, it's Alvin Kamara. Here's a guy who I think was top 10 in fantasy points per game. Just missed the first few games of last season with suspension. His quarterback is David Carr. If you look at Josh Jacobs' number, Jacobs is catching 50, 60 plus passes in Oakland with Carr, and dropped into like the 30s once Carr left. Meanwhile, Carr goes to New Orleans and Kamara catches 74 balls last year. I don't really see any reason he wouldn't repeat that. So especially in half point, full point PPR, great potential. O-line is shaky, may not have the best runs per carry, but I think it's still a guy who's going to get volume, especially with Miller getting hurt. Should really have the backfield to himself.
No, I think it's a good one. There was some hype around Kendre Miller coming into this season, right? Like second year back, looking for someone to run between the tackles a little bit, but he wasn't even looking great in camp on some reports before he got hurt anyways. So now it's just Kamara out there. And if you're in a PPR league, he's a beast, right? Like he's going to catch a bunch of balls from David Carr because David Carr just cannot push the ball accurately downfield at this point in his career. So he's kind of terrible. But he
throws an amazing 5-yard pass to his running back. So you got to give him that.
A lot of them. Yeah. What, any thoughts on that, Frangers? You like Kamara there? Or?
I like Kamara a lot. The only problem that I have with Kamara is that when I've had him, the Saints just go down quickly. And then suddenly they're down 20 points in the third quarter. And like Kamara's on the field and maybe catches a check down here and there. But those are tough games. But I like Kamara. I think there's a lot of upside again. It's his backfield. I'm excited to see what he's got. It's a solid pick.
Okay.
That was my Michael Thomas experience. Like every year I did not have Thomas, he was huge. Every single year I drafted Michael Thomas. Like the Saints and Thomas like went downhill really quickly, and I just was like the name's poison.
Thomas, I don't know. He just totally disappeared. Like so good, and then he just fell off precipitously. It's like he's just not even on a squad this year. Yeah. What's he doing? He's like
big words over here.
Did you understand that one?
No, I'll get Frangers to explain it to me after the show.
Yeah, it's probably necessary. All right, I'll throw out a running back I like that's going pretty late. So Mostert, and I know a lot of people are down on him. Well, they were down on him last year, right? And he was taken super late last year. He ended up being like RB2 in a lot of leagues. He finished last year with 18 rushing touchdowns, 21 total touchdowns. People still don't believe in him this year. He's getting taken at, looks like ADP 78. So he's being taken in like the later, like 7th, 8th rounds. And I get it, right? Devon Achane is super explosive. He's playing in front of him. But Achane's little. He was banged up already in his rookie year. Like he's not a high volume guy. He's not going to be a back that's going to get 20 touches. I think he's going to top out at like 15 touches. Maybe he gets a little bit more involved in the passing game. But Mostert's still there, right? Mostert is pretty much like their 1B. And I think even if you think Mostert is going to be injured or hurt, and I think that's where the discount's coming from, if you still get like 12 games out of him and you get 10 touchdowns, which is like a 50% decrease in his touchdowns from last year, you're still getting value there as your second RB or maybe even your flex, right? So I like Mostert. I think he's going to outperform his ADP for sure, like by at least a few rounds. Be surprised if he can continue to just like rise up the draft boards. Interested in hear what you guys think about Mostert.
I think you hit on the key point for me. I totally agree with you. Not going to repeat everything you said. But the one thing is the touchdowns. He had an unsustainable touchdown rate last year. So the only thing I'd caution is where he's going right now, absolutely worth it. If he starts to rise up draft boards, people start to see the 18 touchdowns. He's not a power back. That's probably not going to happen again. 10 is probably more realistic, even if he's a starter. So just know that would have knocked him a bit down the ranking. So just if he starts to rise, be aware.
For sure.
I think that also on top of that, look, the Dolphins are in the red zone all the time. They score a lot of points. We all know that. And it can't hurt to have a running back on that offense. And Mike McDaniel loves to run the ball. We know that. So there's always going to be some value in Mostert. Even though Achane's there, he's still, like you said, Chris, maybe 10 touchdown guy, solid RB flex play.
Yeah, I mean, as you go deeper into the draft, like it really makes sense to look at upside plays on good offenses, right? And like Miami's going to be up there, right? So like I don't want to draft someone late that's on the Patriots. I'm like, what am I going to get out of that dude? Like, I don't care if he hits. What is he going to get me? 3 touchdowns or something like that? So that's the thinking there. Okay, cool. Let's roll over to wide receiver. It's like at the wideout spot, which is obviously it's becoming like the position is becoming deeper. A lot of people are moving to 3 wide receiver leagues as like PPR and even a half PPR is just becoming more and more standard. Who do you like at wideout spot?
Yeah, one guy this year, we've talked about Amani Cooper and Christian Kirk. So I'm going to set those aside.
Amari Cooper?
Amari Cooper.
Or Amani Cooper.
I'm trying to get a cologne. People said I smell bad, so I'm trying to fix that.
Okay.
2 birds, 1 stone.
Yeah.
But no, another guy is Chris Godwin. And he's been good. He's been over 1,000 yards for 3 straight seasons. He's a little low in touchdowns last year, but he's moving back to the slot, which is where he's excelled. And you know me, I love a dirty slot. So I think this is a perfect opportunity.
How long were you working on that one, man?
Waiting to use that.
A month. It's actually the only reason.
No wonder in like the pod prep, you're like, I need to talk about Chris Godwin. You don't even care about Chris Godwin. You just wanted to nail that.
I
that
don't
slot
actually
joke.
know who it is. I just know he's in the slot.
Okay.
No, but he had insane win rates last year. According to Player Profiler, one of our partners, number 2 win rate overall, number 2 against man, 13th in contested catches. He's a good receiver. And in the slot, and at 28 years old, I think he's in a really prime position. In the dirty slot.
You like that one, Frangers? Not the joke. Do you like Godwin this year? I like Godwin this year. I think the fact that he's moving to the slot is going to be huge.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Godwin, consistently top 20 receiver. The guy's got it. He's got it working, and I don't think he's going to slow down. I mean, it's Chris Godwin. He'll put up numbers. Safe bet.
He's not sexy though, right? Like the name, like that's why I think he is not pushing up draft boards. But like he's not a sexy name.
I feel like he's always lower. Like you always see, like I guess in recent years, Mike Evans is always like that Tampa Bay back that's above Chris Godwin, and I guess he's never been the popular guy. He's not a sexy name like you said. So yeah, I don't know. You're right. Maybe he's a bit lower.
Okay, we'll stick with you, Frangers. Who do you like at wide receiver?
Yeah, another 28-year-old Deontay Johnson just had a change in scenery, moving from Pittsburgh to Carolina. Look, Bryce Young, it was a rough season.
Rough first year.
Go up from there. And look, I like an offense with Adam Thielen and Deontay Johnson. Those are 2 consistent vet receivers. I think they'll be getting the ball a lot. And Deontay Johnson's ADP is 90. That's low. You can get him late. He's always going late, and he's a good guy to have. He was hurt for portions of last season. He's a good guy. What do we think?
Yeah, I actually really like Deontay Johnson. Dave Canales, who's in Carolina this year, he's like the quarterback whisperer. He's really helped resurrect the career last year, like Baker Mayfield. And I think you see that opportunity and you see the cost of Deontay Johnson being really minimal. Like there's a lot of upside and value in that pick. Question though, to both of you, their ADPs are similar. So Deontay Johnson, ADP 90, and we just talked about Godwin at 75. Who would you rather take between the 2, assuming they're both kind of available? Because like they're kind of in that same tier, right?
I mean, I would probably take Godwin. I think Godwin is a safer bet with similar upside. I think Deontay Johnson, best case scenario, he's the wide receiver 1 for an up and coming Bryce Young. Worst case scenario, he's the same Bryce Young, and Deontay Johnson has nothing to show for it. But I think Godwin has some built-in value there already. He's going a little bit earlier, and I'd probably take him over Deontay Johnson if I had the option.
Okay, but Deontay Johnson, the value's there.
Typical man here. He talks up Deontay Johnson and all his values and virtues, and then goes right back to the dirty slot. As soon as he has a chance. 1 a.m.
Can't stay away from the slot.
Hey, you up?
Those 1,000 yards, baby. Chris, I don't even need to ask you. You're probably going Godwin there because you're sticking with the slot.
You've heard me talk enough. Yeah, I'm sticking with Godwin.
All right, cool. All right, well, let's move on to tight end. This is going down quickly. It's going downhill. All right, who do we like at tight end? And for some reason, we're going to start with you, Chris. Who do you like at tight end as a value this year?
Yeah, one guy I really like is Evan Ingram. Led all tight ends in targets last year with 143. Some people point out that he had fewer when Kirk was playing, but even if you take the 7.5 a game he had with Kirk, that's still 127, which would tie him for first in targets. Now the Jaguars have lost Ridley and Zay Jones. That's 200 targets right there. Only brought in Gabe Davis and Brian Thomas. So we're probably not going to fill all of those. So very little reason to think Ingram does not get the same targets. And the biggest knock on him last year was that he only had 4 touchdowns. Never been the biggest touchdown guy, but not too hard to imagine a world where he gets 7 touchdowns. And if he does that, he would have basically been 1 point behind Laporta for tight end 1 this last season.
I think Ingram is conceivably contest for tight end 1, like basically the past couple of years. I'm going to talk about one that I like, which is going pretty low. I like Jake Ferguson. So he's going late, depending upon, what leagues you're looking at, being taken as like tight end 8 or 9. But I like Jake Ferguson, not because he's the most talented tight end, but the opportunity's there in a really good offense, right? So we know Dallas is going to throw the shit out of the ball. Backfield has Zeke and Rico Dowdle. That doesn't really inspire a lot of like strong running game guys. And obviously they're still going to lean on the running game a little bit, but we just know that's a high volume passing game. They have CeeDee Lamb, and that's about it in the passing game. Jake Ferguson is the second option. And if something happens to CeeDee Lamb for whatever reason, Jake Ferguson is like the most accomplished pass catcher out in Dallas. And even last year, I mean, he led all tight ends in red zone opportunities. He had some bad touchdown luck, but if that regresses to the mean a bit, I mean, he's going to catapult into like a top 5 tight end play. Really like him. And I feel like he's going to be a late value in every single draft because people are going to go after people like, the top 6, right? So like from all the way to like Pitts and things like that. But I'm sure you can grab Ferguson pretty late. So Pitts, I know that's someone you like, Franger. So it's about why you like Kyle Pitts this year.
Yeah, I think Pitts is, like you just said, there's like kind of that top 6 tight end tier, and then after that you kind of move lower. Pitts might be the bottom of that tier, if not a tier lower. There are a couple reasons why I like Pitts. The first and probably the biggest reason is that his entire career he's been overvalued. He's always been this tight end who's supposed to be this next big thing, top 5 draft pick. Kyle Pitts was always supposed to be the real deal, and nothing ever came out of it. And for the first time in his career, he's undervalued. People don't like him. He's not a sexy name. He's done nothing in fantasy. He doesn't score touchdowns, doesn't get targets. There's nothing to love about him.
He sounds terrible.
Yeah. It's been terrible. Terrible.
Again, earlier you're describing like a quarterback the way that Micah describes. I mean, now I feel like you're describing tight end the way that Maryland describes me.
I keep starting.
He's terrible. There's nothing to love about him. He's lays around.
My descriptions keep beginning with a lot of negative points, but it's okay. Quickly, I think there's value in him. If he puts up some good early weeks to start, people are going to start believing in him again, and that gives him a lot of trade value. Especially as a tight end, if he asserts himself as a top 5 tight end, he gets a lot of trade value. You can move him. So I wouldn't look at Kyle Pitts as kind of a long-term investment. He might be a top 5 tight end this year. He might not. But if he gets on early and starts putting up numbers, people will want him. People will want his name. So it's worth a 60th overall ADP pick, somewhere around there. And I think, look, Kirk Cousins likes to throw touchdowns to tight ends. John's going to get him in the red zone. The chances will be there. I think there's a good opportunity, and there's some good value.
I think tight ends, like he's going as tight end 6, and I think that's perfect. If you think about like a 12-team league,
sure,
Pitts goes right in the middle because he has the widest range of outcome of any of the tight ends. Like people think he could be tight end 1 with that potential with Kirk Cousins there in that offense, or he could just be the complete bust that people are just sick of and have been burned by, including myself. So
the only thing I will add to this is I think with Pitts, more than some of the other options up there, I would want to grab a second tight end sooner because he's got the ceiling that he's totally reasonable to take in the 6th round. He could be tight end 1. He could also be a complete bust. There could be a reason that Jonas Smith was catching more passes than him last year. It's just cover yourself.
You could go like Pitts and like Bowers later, or Pitts and like Freiermuth or something like that to like really just try to base on yourself.
And actually, on top of that, that's a great point, Chris. I think during my mock draft that we did actually with the Smash Up team, I ended up getting Kelsey in the 3rd round or something, and I drafted Pitts in the 6th, which is weird, right? I probably wouldn't do that in a real league, but it's a different strategy where you have that, that backup tight end plan, but you're also investing in the versatility of Pitts, who like you said, Chef, there's, first tight end potential, and you could have a big season.
if he has the season where that some people think he has, he's basically the wide receiver 2 in a really good offense, right? Yeah. So he's surpassed 1,000 yards before. He just needs that touchdown equity to pick up. So, all right, that's awesome. We had a lot of good picks there, so hopefully that helps some people as they head into their drafts. But let's head into a Smash Up segment because, like we said, Smash Up is basically here. Season starting. We're actually going to be starting our tournaments in the preseason. So we're excited about launching our tournaments, but we get ready for that. Let's talk a little bit about the game itself. Like, who do we like from a player standpoint, not just like we talked about from a fantasy aspect like we did last segment, but who do we like in conjunction with some of our cards? So like, what players do we like, and especially what players do we like to some of the Smash cards that we're going to be utilizing this year? So Hawk, why don't we start with you? Who do you like? Which player, which cards, which combos? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so, in the Super Bowl last year, we had a card called Antihero for Kelsey, essentially, where tight end touchdowns were multiplied by 3. Getting a little bit of a reskin or rename for the regular season. I think it's going to be Gates of Hell. Which is just fun.
Gates of Hell.
Gates of Hell. Max, do you want to try?
There you go. We're going to record that one.
Get that out.
So I like it, but I like it for Laporta, right? Laporta may not get quite as many touchdowns as last year, but the Lions put up a ton of touchdowns. Laporta is just a beast in the red zone. So if I can, I'm grabbing Sammy Laporta and I'm playing Gates of Hell.
Do we like Laporta to have a better year than last year, or on par?
Probably close to on par in my mind.
I think Frangers.
Yeah, I mean, last year was a fantastic season from Laporta. It's tough to replicate. I would agree with Chris. On par seems reasonable.
Yeah, so if he's on par with last year, then this is a great card combo, right?
Absolutely.
All right, Frangers, who do you like in terms of player and also card combo based on like situation or anything else like that?
Yeah. So one of the Smash Up cards that I've always taken a liking to is the Bruising Bell Cow, where you get 1 point per carry. Instead of like 1 point per reception, we're talking a carry here. So a lot of points to be made. And so you're obviously looking for those workhorse backs who are putting up 20 plus carries a game. One workhorse back that I like a lot is Saquon. Saquon, he's old, he's injury prone. Saquon's going to get a lot of carries this season. The Eagles have already reported that they're planning on using him as a workhorse back. I could see him getting 20 plus carries. He's not really sharing the backfield. And I imagine, I don't know what you guys think of this, but at some point, Jalen Hurts needs to get hurt, right? Like, you can't just keep doing, like, something has to happen. You can't.
Yeah.
Someone must take him down. He cannot remain healthy.
And so, there might be some added risk there, and I could see them using Saquon more in the end zone. He's getting those carries, so 1 point per carry, I'll take that every day.
No, that's a good call. Hi, Chris.
I just want to say it's an excellent pick, but can I sidebar with Ming real quick? How depressing is it? And maybe this is just us having some of the young talent on the show, that he's looking at a 27-year-old going, "This guy's old. This guy is ancient." I know he's like falling apart.
For football, he's old, especially at running back. It's true.
He's an old running back.
He's an old running back. He's ancient.
But I like older than 27.
The pick Frangers because especially for Smash Up tourneys, if you play a weekly tourney, you don't need him to be healthy for the entire season, and especially at the beginning of the season, he's going to be fresh and be getting a lot of carries. And points per carry is a lot more reliable to project than points per reception, right? So if you have the option to put a PPR card, a receiver, or you're going to put bell cow on Saquon, like that's like money in the bank right there. So I love that player card combo. Cool. Before we swing out of this Smash card segment, any other cards? Chris, I know you obviously you love a lot of different cards. Any other that you want to call out or anything like that?
Brief shout out here. I'm going to talk a little bit about home field advantage, which is kind of a fun one this year. We've got the team lineup based cards, not just individual players. So card like home field advantage, you can play it on your lineup, and any player at home gets a boost. Now, any player on the road, your lineup gets a bit of a negative. But you find a good team like do like a Niner stack, throw in like Purdy, CMC, Debo as your expensive players. When they're playing at home, play this on top, and this could take you to the top of your league or the top of a tournament.
Love that. It's going to be exciting, especially with all the other things that we really can't talk about yet, but are set to be released. So excited for that. All right. Well, that's going to wrap up our Smash Up segment. Frangers, you got to run, man. It's been great having you here. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Did you good time?
Yeah, thanks, guys. It was a pleasure. I love love talking football. I enjoy hearing your takes. Some are good. Some, we'll have to agree to disagree. But
I like
He's
it.
talking to me. He's talking to me.
He's looking directly at you.
He's looking directly at me.
I'm not talking to you. Come on. But no, it's great stuff. I think people should tune in. It's great advice, and I like it. I like the sleepers. I think we called out some good players, and I'm looking forward to seeing how the podcast progresses over the season. So thanks for
Awesome, man.
having me on. Yes.
Yeah, we gotta have you back. You down to come back?
Yeah, for sure. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, sounds good. All right, we will see you.
All right,
Catch you
guys.
later.
Have a good one.
All right,
Thanks,
later.
Max.
Right, so that brings us to unsportsmanlike conduct. So we obviously renamed this a bit, but we like the name because it's conduct that's not like a sportsman, because we're going to be talking about things that are a little outside the lines. And we got an interesting one because this one's, I think every person who plays fantasy has to encounter this thought process, and hopefully they don't have to deal with this. But we're talking about last place penalties, leagues deciding what to do, inspire confidence in everyone, and make sure they just don't drop paying attention to their team. They continue to stay motivated because they do not want to get last place. People have gotten really creative over the years. We've seen some very interesting ones. So, Hawk, why don't you kick us off? What are some interesting last place league penalties you've seen? You either have been a part of. I know you and I have been in a lot of the same leagues, so we can probably talk about a lot of the same ones. But even ones maybe you just even heard of, you haven't seen, but you're like, whoa, that's crazy. Why don't you name a few that you've come across?
Yeah, I love some of the ones they've had people do calendar shoots. Some are sexy calendar shoots. Well, depending on your definition of sexy, the people doing the shoots.
Yeah, what?
Usually not. These are not the best. I'm not gonna. All bodies are valid. I'm not gonna talk anyone down.
Yeah,
I've seen people shave their head, get a wax 40-year-old virgin.
Shaving your head's a good one because I feel like it's enough of a penalty where you're that sucks, but then it's not so terrible where people are no, that's so depraved. Why are we doing that?
Just to clarify, though, for anyone watching on YouTube,
are you continually losing your leagues? Is that why your hair is always gone?
No, I'm just losing it genetics. That's the bit of a different story.
Good one. Okay.
The other one that I've done, if I want to talk about leagues we've been in, we have a league that's always got a relatively creative, not quite a sexy calendar shoot, but one year I got last place, and the last place had to do a movie scene or sing a song that the rest of the league chose. And I'm going to give the slightly longer version here. I ultimately wound up doing.
Don't you always give the longer version?
Yeah, but this is the longer version.
Okay, great.
Kids, sit down.
We've now lost all listeners. They've hit stop.
No,
please go ahead.
Ultimately wound up doing a scene from Any Given Sunday. The big speech at the end. I had the music, I acted it out, I dressed up. But the funny thing is, this happened right before the draft because the original thing that these guys picked was the opening montage from Bloodsport. Which, keep in mind, this is not a guy standing punching a bag a little bit or doing some kicks. This is witnessing a death, going to a funeral. I'm guys, I can't do a 10 location shoot.
I'll say that's probably one that I haven't seen in any other leagues, but you did a great job. I mean, I know you're a pretty good actor, so we appreciated the commitment to the scene that you put in.
Well, you're no stranger to finishing in last, so why don't you talk about some of the other punishments you've experienced?
Well, I definitely don't finish first. Wait, what? I'm in first. Wait, what?
Wait, hold on a minute.
Wait, what? Anyways, no, I've definitely been part of leagues that recently had kind of I guess it's a penalty that's rising in popularity. It's the 24-hour Waffle House. I was in a league that someone had to sit there for 24 hours, and you basically eat a pancake for every hour you want to shave off the time you spent there. I did not do that. Had someone kind of similarly had to rap an entire song themselves. I've been a part of a league that did that. Also seen some ones probably can't really talk about. This is a family show, this is kind of a family show, but some leagues get really, really crazy. Kind of related. It's not a last place penalty, but have you seen what people sometimes do for their home leagues when they get together to draft? They'll go do a destination or something like that, something really fun and exciting with their league mates, but they'll do things to set the draft order. Have you seen that?
No. Tell me more.
Yeah. Some people will do like a draft Olympics. It'll be some competition of like drinking games and very limited physical contests, which is kind of hilarious because you see like these 40 and 50-year-old guys doing like 40-yard dashes, and then 3 guys get hurt and they end up getting the last picks too because they stumble and fall.
It's kind of amazing. Like when you're in your early 20s, you do something like this. Someone gets hurt because you make stupid decisions, but it's usually like, oh, this guy got hurt doing a backflip off like a diving board. When you're 40, it's like, this guy just walked a little bit too fast.
Yeah. That happens. Or this guy woke up. I hurt waking up. So anyway, but yeah, I think last place penalties are always interesting because you have to strike the balance of them being so terrible where everyone is actually at least open to the idea, but bad enough where it makes people not want to be in last place and they stay committed to making sure that their league performs at a high level or their team plays at a high level throughout the year.
Final thought here. Should the NFL do this? Is this a way to combat tanking? Should there be like a penalty where the last place NFL team has to do something crazy?
I mean, why not? Like it would keep teams from tanking, and there's like relegation, right? So like there could be some form of that where you see the entire Dallas Cowboys team eating pancakes for 24 hours. That they probably would kill it though. I think that wouldn't really be a penalty for like that O-line would just smash.
Yeah, I think I feel like they would do like a sexy calendar shoot even without like being in last place. They're just selling chairs.
We need to think of it. We need to think of a better penalty for them. Maybe like they're all forced to go play in Ohio or something like that for the Browns.
There we go. That's the worst penalty the NFL has to offer.
There you go. Yeah, or Carolina. Maybe it's pretty bad out there too. So
or just have to like watch a Raiders game on television.
Pretty bad. Maybe try to catch passes from Jimmy G. That's pretty bad too.
Jimmy, I still love you, man.
Yeah, we kind of love you. All right, let's move on to our next segment, which we love. Role players.
The role I was meant to play in the gates of hell.
Hell. Okay, I don't know why we're saying that. Okay, so I don't know if anyone, or I should say, I know a lot of people are watching it, but I don't know if everyone's watching the new Netflix series Receiver. Actually, really good. I'm like 4 episodes in. Did you crushed it already? Are you finished with it?
Oh, the show's amazing. Yes,
okay.
You know me. I soak that kind of stuff up.
Yeah, it's like Hard Knock style, but instead of focusing on a team, focusing on a couple of like high-profile receivers. You got Debo, Kittle for the Niners, Justin Jefferson.
It's like Hard Knocks meets
the
Kardashians meets
the NFL.
Any given Sunday,
Yeah, there you go. But it's really interesting because like the receivers are kind of like the divas of the league, right? They're like the most outspoken. They're exciting. They demand the ball. But all of the great footage that you see series, there's a ton of uncut footage that is just lying on production floor, and we have access.
Yeah, I heard that we actually managed to bribe, and we had Nick sneak into Netflix vault and like unlock some secret footage from I believe the Jets.
It is. We got wide receiver Garrett Wilson. Obviously, the season didn't go quite as planned, and so I think that's why Netflix cut it from production because it just didn't quite work out the way that they anticipated. There's a lot of footage of Garrett Wilson progressing throughout the year, so why don't we dive into that? We'll reenact what that footage looks like from Garrett Wilson on receiver. Be the honors of having you be Garrett Wilson, and I'll be Netflix moderator, host / MC. Does that work?
Yeah, Garrett Wilson and I look alike as usual, so this makes sense.
Yeah, well, you guys have similar hands, right? You guys catch everything. You guys are good receivers. All right, let's dive into it. All right, so we'll start off with Garrett Wilson. Week 1, just like being super optimistic, and I know he was excited, and we have some footage from there. All right, so here we go. What's up, Garrett? How you doing?
Right for the season. This is to be this young and I think go to a Super Bowl this year. This is going to be the year.
Right, so obviously we're shooting receiver. Why don't you just dive right into telling us about how you feel like going into week 1? You have Aaron Rodgers as your QB. Defense is strong. Tell us about how you're feeling, what you're thinking about, predictions about the year for you guys. Like, give us the full rundown of everything you're feeling going into a really exciting season for you guys.
This season, getting Aaron Rodgers, a future Hall of Famer. Last year, I shouldn't say this, I'm going to be honest. I had to try to catch passes from Zach Wilson, and never again. Never going to happen to me again. Now I've got Aaron Rodgers, who's been great. He keeps inviting me over. We've gone camping. We watch movies. Sauce Gardner and him said I could be in on their smoke handshake. So I think we're gonna every touchdown this year we're gonna do a little different smoke handshake, and I think there's gonna be like 20 of them.
I mean, like, okay, talk more about what you think the offense is going to look like. You guys can score a lot of points. I mean, like, just how amazing is it going to be being Aaron Rodgers as your QB versus Zach Wilson?
Well, I mean, we've got we've got a great coach in Sela, and he's drawn up plays where I just run directly down the field, and Aaron Rodgers throws a 56-yard bomb, and that's he keeps saying the only play we need. And so yeah, between that and Breece Hall running for touchdowns nonstop, and now we've got Alan Lazard, who's I just heard like an amazing number 2 receiver. Will probably have like 80, 90 receptions himself. Never drop a pass. I think we're in for an amazing season in New York.
That sounds amazing. All right. Well, we're going to obviously be following you all season long. So we're excited to the excitement of the Jet season. We're going to catch up with you throughout the year, maybe fast forward to the end of the year and just ask you for a recap on how things went and hopefully hear about like the run you guys are making, maybe all the way to the Super Bowl. Yeah.
Let me just say too, I'm so excited because I keep hearing like the New York fans are the most supportive. They will never turn on you, never get upset, no matter what happens. So I can't wait.
That's what I hear too. All right, so we're back. We're at week 16. We're catching up with Garrett Wilson. And some things have not turned the way we had hoped. So we're going to talk to Garrett and see what his thoughts are on how the season has gone and maybe a little reflection on the season that was. Hey, Garrett, how are you? How you doing?
Man, I'm a little drunk right now. It's
drunk. It's 9:30 a.m.
Yeah,
okay?
I got started later than normal. Listen, receiver Justin Jefferson had a candy drawer and everyone found it cute. I have an alcohol drawer and suddenly I got a problem.
What? Are you okay? Are we okay to do this right now?
Okay. I lost Aaron Rodgers after a quarter. I had to try to catch passes from Zach Wilson the entire year, which has not happened. The only thing I almost caught from Zach Wilson was an STD from my mother because he kept trying to get my mom's number. That was kind of creepy. But yeah.
You almost got an STD from your mother?
No. Zach Wilson almost.
Okay.
I don't know, man. He's a little dirty slut. That's all I know.
What happened, Gary? I mean, I know obviously you lost Aaron, but can you describe for us like your thoughts on this season and what transpired?
Life happened, man. Why is life so hard? Alan Lazard, they said he was going to be great, and he can't even catch a pass. And then the New York fans, they hate me. They hate all of us. All they do is boo in the stadium, and when I get an Uber, when I'm at a restaurant. Like some guy spit on me the other day, and that was my dad. It's been a rough season, man. I've been just drunk dialing Jimmy Garoppolo nonstop. Like he's not even good, but I just don't want Zach Wilson anymore.
Yeah. I don't know. I think he's going to a home in Las Vegas. It looks like the people of Las Vegas love him there for the Raiders. But you're right. He may be an upgrade of Zach Wilson. What are your thoughts going forward? How do you think about the Jets and maybe like next year?
I'm looking at this receiver thing. Can I get out of this contract? Is there a way out of the contract?
Unfortunately, we have a lot of footage of you. I don't know what we're going to do with it, but it doesn't look great. You kind of look like you do now.
No, not receiver. I want out of my New York Jets contract. Is there a way? Is there a way I can like go to a team that doesn't have Zach Wilson?
I don't know. Maybe that's something you can talk to Coach about, and we'll let you follow up there. Okay, great. Okay, yeah.
I'm gonna go a little more of the good stuff, right? It's sweet. It's almost 9:35. Almost the end of the day.
Is there anything we can help you with? You seem like you need a little lift. Anything that we can have you do or play that might be better than?
I need a win. I really just need to play with the quarterback who's not Zach Wilson. I've heard on SmashPod Fantasy Sports, I can actually like pick my lineup. I can go get a quarterback in. I can get Brock Purdy. I can get Josh Allen. I can get Pat Mahomes.
You can,
and I can be in the lineup. So it's like I'm playing with them.
Yeah, you can definitely play Smash Up and win prizes for free.
Well, why don't we go play that? And I can go sober up a little bit and get ready for a season with playing Smash Up with Pat Mahomes as my quarterback.
Let's do that, Garrett.
All right.
Okay. Take care. Year for Garrett Wilson, huh?
Oh, it was a rough one. He seemed like he aged 30 years this season. So it's
I was looking at his stats, and if you look at just like his raw receiving stats, you're like, okay, he had not a good year by any means, and he was drafted like first, second round by a lot of people.
Yeah.
But then you look at his efficiency stats because he's being thrown the ball by like Zach Wilson. He had like 150 targets to get like 800 yards or something. Like it was crazy. The catchable ball rate was very low.
And look, not to just torch you one more time because I feel like we keep coming back to this. I know you're ready for a new season, but didn't you have Garrett Wilson on at least one team?
Garrett Wilson on two teams.
You did something. You like hurt a religious person. You did bad in a past life.
I had
karma last year.
Garrett Wilson on those Tony Pollard teams. It was
With
insane.
Anthony Richardson. Yeah, it's.
I did have one team with all three of them. It was bad, man. Like everything that could have went wrong last year went wrong. So
you ate a lot of waffles last year. Let's.
I just lived in the Waffle House. All right. Well, that wraps up role players. It brings us to our final segment, Chef's Table.
Yes, chef.
We're going to dice up some tasty, burning topics. So, first things we can dive into is the NFL rule change that's happening. I think they're piloting it a little bit. Well, not piloting it, it's been implemented, but we saw a little bit of a taste of it regarding onside kicks. There's some other rule changes as well, but why don't you break down the onside kick rule change? Like, and do we like it? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so a lot of change with the kicks, but the biggest one and the most controversial is onside kicks, which now can only be done in the fourth quarter. No motion. You've got to declare the kick. It can only be done by the losing team. So I've loved for years. I mean, the Saints, partially won a Super Bowl against the Colts because they had this kind of surprise onside kick, caught everyone off guard. It was a huge momentum builder. And now it's desperation. They changed the rules so much that it's really made it even lower probability than the normal. What do you think?
I mean, onside kicks used to be really exciting, right? Like the surprise factor. I mean, it's tipped games at some point, especially like do or die games in the playoffs where like maybe naturally you wouldn't do that in the regular season, but like you have to pull out all the stops in the playoffs. Just like really cutting that off at the legs, so to speak. Like I think it removes something that's potentially exciting. So we'll see what that does. Like could it be restored back at some point? But I mean, like why even have it at this point if you're the data, all the notifications and the declarations that have to take place? It's like why even have onside kicks at all at this point? I don't know. I think it's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, I was just play a game of chess or something, and the winner gets the ball.
Yeah, exactly. Different. Yeah, just stop right in the middle of the game and just have a chess match.
Well, maybe one of those contests to set draft where they could do that. What if two players had to run a cone thing while pounding a beer, and first place?
They'd put their head over a bat and spin around and then chug a beer. Oh, you know what'd be cool? I was gonna say, what if they just even played rock paper scissors? Just under 2 minutes, if there's a kickoff, you get to play rock paper scissors for who gets the ball.
While chugging a beer with the other hand. I think that sounds fun.
Yeah, I would like to watch that would be exciting. That would be the most exciting rock paper scissors ever. Everyone would be watching intently. I can only imagine Vegas and the bets that would occur based on the rock paper scissors that would be played.
Oh, and imagine the analytics. I know technically
that's what
Google Analytics online, but you'd have full staff dedicated to the analytics of when to pick rock paper scissors.
Yeah, I think we're onto something. Maybe we should propose a rule change.
Let's do it. Let's go to the committee.
Let's do it. All right. And a bit of additional NFL news. So D-Hop was just got injured, which sucks, right? Because he is a little bit aging receiver. So you're starting to see maybe that creep in a little bit. But he was supposed to be part of what we just talked about is a heavier pass offense this year. I don't think he's going to be out for a significant amount of time. I think early reports are 4 to 6 weeks. What does this look like the offense in Tennessee now? Your thoughts?
I mean, it maybe gives Ridley a few more targets. I actually think Ridley would benefit from having some pressure taken off of him by Hopkins. But
yeah,
volume matters a lot in fantasy, like we talked about with Ingram. Really, I'm just sad for Hopkins though. He's a guy I've had on fantasy teams back in his Houston days. He was fantastic, and I will never forget winning a week when he caught that Hail Mary at the end of the game from Kyler Murray a couple years back. Just an electric player that I've enjoyed his whole career.
Yeah, hate to see players get injured. It will be interesting to see what that does to the other players in the pecking order of opportunities in Tennessee. On a related injury note, which is another kind of bummer, I don't know if you saw Justin Herbert also recently got injured. So hurt his foot, I think. And obviously his first season with Boz coach and Roman as the OC. I mean, these are quality opportunities for reps right now in the offseason that he's going to be missing out on. And I think there was some optimism for the Chargers it just seems like this is going to hurt them, and maybe have them come a little bit slower out of the gate than they were already going to because of the entire regime and philosophy change. What do you think with Herbert being out? And I know it's a little iffy on how long he's out for. I don't think it's like long term, but he may miss like about a month from now. Like, what do you think this is going to do for the Chargers, at least from a starting standpoint?
I think you already said it, but I more have a question for you. Forget about the Chargers. What does this do to your boy, Lad McClunkey?
Man, this kind of puts a little damper, obviously, on it. I think it's going to like bury Lad from the ADP standpoint. He's still someone you want to think long term. Second half season, he'll probably pick things up a little bit. But quite a bummer for early season prospects for Lad, especially as like a rookie. You want to build rapport with your quarterback. We'll have to see.
Maybe the only good thing for Lad is that reports that at camp, the one camp, it's really up and down. You can't tell too much. But the one really big loser has been Quentin Johnson, who I guess has been dropping passes left and right. So
I saw another highlight of a ball just being placed right in his basket heading into the end zone, and he just drops it. And it's like he has this one of your reactions where you like hit yourself on the head because you're like, why didn't I catch that? But it's also, you can almost feel the layer of like, again, like I dropped another one. It's like, come on, bro.
I'm excited to watch the CFL game a year from now with Trey Lance throwing the ball to Quentin Johnson.
Good news is Quentin Johnson's going to be of extreme value in Smash Up. So very cheap, very cheap. All right. Well, that wraps things up for Chef's Table. And now I think that wraps us up for the episode. So really appreciate everyone listening. Thanks for tuning in. It was a great episode. Loved having Franger on. Had a great perspective on a lot of things fantasy and things sports. We'll definitely invite him back. But Hawk, why don't you take us out and let everyone know how they can follow along?
Yeah, so first of all, like and subscribe to the podcast on whatever software you are listening on. Then go to smashupsports.com and register so you're able to go out and play the season-long game, the weekly tournaments, or the new single-player mode coming soon. And then go down to the description and follow us on other social media like Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, or whatever your favorite one is. I think it might even be on like Friendster and MySpace. I got to verify that.
Wow. Going back deep. All right. Well, thanks again, everyone. Appreciate you listening. Super Smash Bros out. See you next time.
Dirty Slots out.
And McConkey.
The gates of hell.